Hello students, welcome back to all of you. Today in this class we are going to read section 2 of the chapter The Hour of Truth. Okay, but before starting section 2, let us discuss few points on section 1. In section 1 I have told you these are the characters that came into light, and in section 2 also these are the same characters. Okay, but in section 1 the discussion was about Robert Baldwin and Mr. Gresham. Okay, Mr. Gresham has called Mr. Baldwin to meet to him, to talk to him. And why did he call Mr. Baldwin to talk? This question creates some confusion in the minds of Martha, his wife, John, his son, Evie, his daughter. And the three are discussing, means Martha, John and Evie, these three are discussing why did Mr. Gresham call to their father to talk. Okay, because the next day Mr. Baldwin is going to give witness against Mr. Gresham, and Mr. Gresham is in custody because of some corruption which has taken place in his bank. Okay, and John is getting angry and speaking that right now Mr. Gresham will get the right punishment because since last 20 years he was underpaying his employees as well as he is robbing the money of the public. Okay, this is the conversation only. Understood the point? But towards the concluding lines of section 1, what happened? Mr. Robert Baldwin, he returned to home, and when he returned to home, Evie was going to open the door, but Martha, her mother, denied, and she went herself to open the door. Now let us see what happened. What is the discussion in between these people? John, hello dad. John is speaking, hello dad. Baldwin, coming in followed by Martha, how are you my boy? He shakes hands with John, then both are shaking. In our culture we are touching the feet, but in their culture they will shake the hand. Okay, so both the father and the son, they were shaking the hand, and the father is asking, how are you my child? Martha, you are sure your shoes are not wet, Robert? Then Martha, the wife, is speaking, Robert, are you sure now your shoes are not wet? Who is asking? The wife is asking. Baldwin, shaking his hand, I took the car, not a drop on me, see. He passes his hands over his sleeve, he goes to a chair, sits, there is an awkward pause. Then Baldwin is speaking, no, I took a car, so I was not wet. John, well dad, don't you think it's about time you told us something? Baldwin, told you something? I don't understand, John. John, people have been talking about you, saying things. Baldwin, what kind of things, son? John, you can imagine rotten things, and I could not contradict them. Then John is speaking, dad, don't you think that this is the time that you have to speak or something? Because people are speaking a number of things on you, rotten things, very bad things people are speaking, and I can't contradict them because I don't have any evidence and I don't have any idea on this thing, what has really happened. So don't you think that you should speak me the truth? Who is speaking? John is asking to his father. John, you can imagine rotten things and I could not contradict them. Baldwin, why not, John? Because I didn't know. Baldwin, didn't you have to know? Was not it enough that you know your father, knew your father? John, after a pause, I beg your pardon, sir. Then when John is speaking that father, speak out what has happened, because people are speaking rotten things and I have to contradict them. But right now, as I don't have any knowledge, I can't contradict their opinion. Then the father is speaking, don't you know your father? Is not it enough that you know your father? Then John is asking forgiveness. Then what happened? Baldwin, it was 2 days before this smash up that I found out what Gresham was doing. He pauses, they are listening intently. I told him he would have to make good. He said he could not. Evie, and what happened? Then Baldwin is speaking that before 2 days only I came to know about the smash, about the incident that has taken place, the damage that has been caused. Okay, means financial problem was there in the bank. Then when Baldwin asked him that you have to repair it, Mr. Gresham said, no, I can't do it. Then Evie is asking, then what did happen? Baldwin, I told him he would have to do the best he could, and the first step would be to close the bank. He didn't want to do that. Martha, but he did it. Baldwin, I made him do it. He was angry, very angry, but I had to whip hand. Whip hand means control hand. Then Mr. Baldwin is speaking that the first thing I told him to do, that to close the bank right now, to shut the bank, but he denied it. And the wife is speaking, but finally he did it. Then the husband is speaking that yes, I forced him to do so. Evie, the papers didn't mention that. Baldwin, I didn't think it was necessary to tell them. Martha, but you'd let your name rest under a cloud. Meanwhile, Baldwin, it would be clear tomorrow, won't it? Today, Gresham sent for me. The trial begins in 24 hours. I am the only witness against him, he asked. You can guess what? John, indignantly, he wanted you to lie to save his skin. Wanted you to preserve yourself. Then Baldwin is speaking that tomorrow the trial is going to start. Today he called for me. You think what he might have spoken to me? Then John is speaking that that man has told you to speak the lie to save himself, isn't it? Baldwin, that would not be necessary, John. He just wanted me to have an attack of poor memory. If I tell all I knew, John Gresham will go to goal. No power on earth can save him from it, but he wants me to forget a little, just the essential things. When they question me, I can answer, I don't remember. They can't prove I do remember, and there you are. And then Mr. Baldwin is speaking that Mr. Gresham wanted him to speak, not to speak lie. Mr. Baldwin should speak that I can't remember, and the people, the officials, they can't prove that Mr. Baldwin can remember. This is the thing that Mr. Gresham wanted, that Mr. Baldwin should speak. John, it would be a lie, Dad. Baldwin, of course, but it is done every day and they could not touch me any more than they could convict me. But John is speaking, but Dad, it's a lie. Then Baldwin is speaking, of course, but they can't touch me. They can't force me to speak anything because I can't remember. Martha, quivering, how dare he ask such a thing? Abby, what did you say, Father? Baldwin, smiling and raising his eyes to John's. Well, son, what would you have said, John? I would have told him to go to the devil. Baldwin, I did, John. Bully for your dad. Martha, half to herself, I knew. Baldwin, I didn't use the word, John. He too old a friend of mine for that. But I didn't mince matters any. I understood what I meant. Then Baldwin is asking his son that, John, think you were in my place, then what you might have spoken. Then John is speaking that I would have told him, go to devil, go to hell. Then Baldwin is speaking, I also did the same thing, but I didn't use your words because he is a too old friend of mine. That's why I can't speak like this. Who is speaking? Mr. Baldwin is speaking. And Evie, and what did he say then? Baldwin, there was not much to say. You see, he was not surprised. He is known to me for 35 years and well, with simple pride. Anybody who has known me for 35 years doesn't expect me to haggle with my conscience. And haggle means bargain. If it had been anybody else than John Gresham, I would have struck him across the face. Did you understand? Mr. Baldwin is speaking to his wife that when I spoke him, he was not surprised because he knew me since very long days. That's why he was not surprised. He knew my nature. And if it were not Mr. Gresham, someone else might be in his place, then I might have slapped him on the face. Who is speaking? Mr. Baldwin is speaking here. Remember one thing. Mr. Baldwin, though he is the single witness against Mr. Gresham, still he did not use any bad words. He did not cross the limitation of friendship. Okay. We walked side by side, but Gresham John Gresham and I were boys together. We worked side by side, and I have been in his employ ever since he started in for himself. He is desperate. He doesn't know what he is doing, or he would not have offered me money. Then he is speaking. Gresham and I, we grew up together. We started working together, and I was the employee and he was the chairman. But still, he doesn't know. His mental condition is not good. That's why he would not have offered me money. Understood? What is being offered? So, what is the main cause? Why did Mr. Gresham call Mr. Baldwin? To bribe him, to offer him some money, to speak that he is having the attack of poor memory. John offered you money, Dad. Then John is speaking, what? He offered you money? Baldwin, he had put it aside, ready for the emergency. If they don't convict him, he will hand it over to me. The law can't stop him, but if I leave until tomorrow night, they will convict him. He sighs, God knows, I want no say in bringing about his punishment. He breaks up. Abby pats his hand silently. Young man and old man, I have worked with him, or for him the best part of my life. I am loyal to him. I have always been loyal to him. But when John Gresham ceases to be an honest man, John Gresham and I part company. Did you remember what is being spoken? It is being spoken that I can't put him in problem, and at the same time, for me only, he is going to be convicted if I remain alive tomorrow. But I don't want to see him like this. I don't want to speak against him, because we have worked together side by side, and I am very loyal to him unless and until Mr. Gresham ceases to be an honest man. Understood? Then he started crying, and his wife just patted him on the back, pats his hand silently he just patted his hand. Martha, Robert, Baldwin, I have got only a few years to live, but I will live those years I have lived the rest of my life. I will go to my grave clean. He rises presently, goes to the window and looks out. The rain stopped, hasn't it? Then Mr. Baldwin is speaking that throughout my life I have lived a clean life. I want to go to grave clean, means I want to die without any corruption. Okay, who is speaking? Mr. Baldwin is speaking. Then he rises up and went near the window and told that the rain has been stopped. A.V. Following him and taking his hand, yes, Father Baldwin, it will be a fine day tomorrow. John, Dad. Baldwin asks, John, what did Gresham offer you? Baldwin, $100,000. A.B. What? Martha, Robert. Their voice changed. Okay. They are talking. The son asked him, Papa, what was the money? How much money did he offer you? $100,000. Then Abby said, what? Then the wife said, Robert. Baldwin, he put it aside for me without anybody knowing it. It's out of his private fortune, he says. It's not the depositor's money, as if that made any difference. Abby, as if hypnotized, he offered you $100,000. Abby was going to faint, and she told that he offered you $100,000. Baldwin, smiling at her amazement, I could have had it for the one word is, or even nodding my head or look of the eye. Then Baldwin is speaking, I could have that much of money with or expression of eyes. John, how do you know he meant it? Baldwin, his word is good. John, even now? Baldwin, he never lied to me, John. I suppose my eyes must have shown something I didn't feel. He noticed it. He unlocked a drawer and showed me the 100,000, John, in cash. Baldwin, in $1,000 bills. They were genuine. I examined it. A.B. And for that he wants you to say, I don't remember. Baldwin, just that 3 words only. John, but you won't. Okay. Then John is speaking, is the money, means the money which is being offered to you is a truth. Then Baldwin is speaking, yes, they are genuine. They are in checks. Then Abby is speaking that you will speak the lie for him. There are 3 words. And then Baldwin is speaking, yes, only 3 words. Then John is speaking, no, but you will not speak. Understood the line? John is speaking, but you won't. You will not speak. Baldwin, those 3 words would choke me if I tried to speak them. For some other man, perhaps it would be easy. But for me, all of my past would rise up and strike me in the face. It would mean the world that for years I had been living a lie, that I was not the honorable man I thought I was. Did you understand the lines spoken by Baldwin? He has spoken that if I try to utter those words, it will choke me. I won't be able to breathe. I will feel restless. Okay, I will feel breathless, and it will strike me on my face that throughout the years I was not living an honest life. But for some other people it might be very easy, but for me it is not. Who is speaking? Mr. Baldwin is speaking it. When John Gresham offered me money, I was angry, but when I rejected it and he showed no surprise, then I was pleased. Then he is speaking that when Gresham offered me the money, I was angry. Okay, but when I did reject it, he was not surprised, he was normal. Then I was happy. It was a compliment, don't you think so? And it's a compliment because, listen, one thing, it was known to Mr. Gresham that this Robert Baldwin is an honest man. That's why even when he tried to bribe him, even when he tried to give him $100,000, he denied. So Mr. Gresham was not surprised by all this act. John, rather an expensive compliment. Baldwin, John, a compliment which cost you $100,000. Baldwin, a compliment which is worth $100,000. I have never had that much money to spend in my life, John. But if I had, I could not imagine a finer way to spend it. Then John is speaking that this compliment is quite costly. And then Baldwin is speaking that a compliment is this is a compliment which is more valuable than $100,000. And throughout my life I have not earned this much of money, and even if I am going to get that one, I can't decide how to spend the money. John, I suppose so. Martha, after a pause, will the depositors lose much, Robert? Then Martha is asking that, Robert, will the depositor lose their money? Baldwin, emphatically the depositors will not lose a cent, means they are not going to lose a single percent. AB, but the paper said, Baldwin, interpreting, they had to print something, the guest, I know, I tell you. Martha, but you never said so before. Baldwin, I left that for Gresham, it will come out tomorrow. Then when the wife is asking, will the depositors lose their money? Then Mr. Baldwin is speaking, no, the depositors, they are not going to, they are not going to face any loss. They will not face a single rupee loss. Not a 0%, means 1% loss is not there on their part. Then Martha is speaking, but it is being published in the paper. Then Baldwin is speaking that they have to publish something, that's why they are publishing, otherwise the depositors, they are not going to lose a single cent. And John, why tomorrow, why didn't you say so before? The papers asked you even often enough. Baldwin, nothing forced me to answer, John. John, that was not your real reason, was it that you knew that papers would keep right on calling your names? Baldwin doesn't answer. John's face lights up with sudden understanding. He wanted to let Gresham announce it himself because it will be something in his favor. Then John is speaking that, Father, if you knew it, then why didn't you speak it? Why didn't you disclose it before to the newspaper? Then Baldwin is speaking that, why should I do? It will be done by Mr. Gresham. Then John, he looked at him, amazing face that, oh, it means if Mr. Gresham is going to declare that the depositors, they are not going to lose a single cent, it means he will do a favor to himself. Baldwin, yes, we were able to save something from the wreck, Gresham and I. It was more than I had expected, almost twice as much. And with what Gresham has, it will be enough, even without the 100,000. Then Baldwin is speaking that we are able to save something from the wreck. At the same time, Gresham and I, it was more than I had expected. Then AB is speaking that even without that $100,000, there will be no loss. John, without the money that Gresham had put away for you? Baldwin, yes, I didn't know there was the 100,000 until today. Then John is speaking, means that if that money is being excluded, there will be no loss. Then Baldwin is speaking, yes, without that money also there will be no loss. And it was not known to me about this money, it was completely his private money. Gresham didn't tell me, we reckoned without it, and we have calculated everything without this money. AB, oh, John, and you made both ends meet. Both ends meet means means hand to mouth income. Okay, means you are earning the salary and spending it in the home. Baldwin, quite easily. Mr. Marshall is running the reorganization. Mr. Marshall of the Third National. He has not the least idea that it's going to turn out so well. Then there is a pause. Then Mr. Baldwin is speaking that Mr. Marshall, this character, he is running the Third National and he is not having any idea on it, but everything is going to turn out well. Understood? So, in this unit, in this section, what did we discuss? We discussed about the reason that why Mr. Gresham called Mr. Baldwin only to offer him money, and he was not forcing him to speak lie, but he was asking him to speak that I can't remember. Okay, just 3 words, I can't remember, everything will be fine. And for this one, he was ready to give him $100,000, but Mr. Baldwin didn't accept it. But when the family members get to know about that he was offered $100,000, they were surprised. Maybe the wife is speaking that the depositors, they will not lose the money, etc., etc. And John is also speaking that it is a quite expensive compliment. And then they are speaking that why didn't he speak this truth beforehand? Then Mr. Baldwin is speaking that tomorrow it will be disclosed in the trials. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice time.